Christina Matheson, and welcome to the Power of Connection. I am thrilled today to have Vivian Wu with us. Vivian, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm actually really excited to get started.
I'm so glad. It's so great to have you. So for our listeners, I want to just share a little bit about you. Soul Vitamins Hypnotherapy was founded by Vivian Wu with the mission to support high achievers in untying their worth from their external achievements and validation while tapping into their inner reservoir of power and wisdom to create an abundant, fulfilling, and joyous life and business. Through the power of hypnosis, Vivian guides you to explore the depth of your subconscious mind, the seat of your beliefs, emotions, and habits, allowing you to awaken your full potential and realize your goals with newfound clarity. Let's expand your being and shift your identity beyond what you thought was possible, one trance at a time. Vivian, that is cool. I have to say, I don't meet a lot of people who do this. So it's very, very cool to have you. I was in Danielle Massey's shadow work group, and I know you were also. She connected us. We were not in the same group at the same time. But I thought it was an amazing program. Did you do that shadow work before or after you started this?
After. Yeah, I wanted to dive even deeper.
That's amazing. So how did you get into doing this? I mean, I would think that somebody just can't do hypnosis. Do you perform hypnosis? Do you do hypnosis? Like, what's the verb?
I use facilitate.
Facilitate.
So I facilitate hypnosis sessions. And how I got started, I was actually introduced to hypnotherapy when I was in my early 20s by my therapist. And I remember like the second or third sessions in, she was like, hey, would you like to try hypnotherapy? Because I think back then she probably felt like we kept hitting walls, like we just couldn't get past certain issues. And then back then I was probably like a lot of people now, like when we hear the word hypnotherapy or hypnosis, you're like, no, like, I don't want to like do weird things. I don't want to lose control. And what the heck is it? So at first I was very resistant. And then I was like, you know what? I was so desperate to feel better. I was like, let's give it a try. And I remember our first session was on feeling more confident because I wasn't confident at all at work. I never felt like I had any value to bring to the table. And I was so fearful of speaking up in meetings. And overall, I was just in a really bad place during that time in my life. And I remember having that hypnosis session. She gave me a recording for me to listen to. It's basically like guided meditation with positive affirmations. And the next morning when I walked into work, I felt so different. I literally felt like a different person. Like I walked into the office with my head held high and I started speaking up in meetings, even though it was still a little bit scary. It was something that I wasn't used to, but I was kind of like breaking more and more out of my own shell. And that was one session. That was one session. And so it opened up I became very open-minded to try different modalities in therapy. And I'm also very, very thankful, so lucky to have found a therapist who was spiritual, talks about shadow work. Her and I still work together. I still book sessions with her here and there to expand even more. She talks about shamanism. She's so cool. So very lucky so she played a huge role in why and how I became a hypnotherapist.
That's amazing. So you had this great positive experience that you didn't even know that existed and decided it was so powerful that you wanted to facilitate or help other people do it.
The interesting thing is life doesn't happen like that. I wish I could tell that story. So right after I'm like, I want to become a hypnotherapist. But I did during that time, I wrote, this is actually a powerful story. I was working at a company where they got us to set intentions for the next 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years. So I was in my early, mid 20s during that time. And I remember writing down by the age of 30 or 35, I wanted to become a counselor because I had this really, it's like this burning desire or like passion, whatever you want, or calling, I don't know the word for it, but I just felt like it's what I want to do. I've always wanted to be a psychologist, but I was influenced by my family's opinions as to what I should study in the university. So I ended up studying business. So I actually have about 10 plus years of digital marketing experience, but I knew it in my heart that I've always wanted to do something that can support others because I've struggled. So like, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this too, and maybe yourself as well, Christina, like we don't do this work. We don't like, you didn't start this podcast. You didn't go into Danielle's shadow work program because you had zero trauma in life. There's something that we want to work through.
We all have it. We all have it.
We all have it. And because I struggled so much and I wanted to find answers, I wanted to do something so that perhaps other people don't have to go through it in such a painful way. So, and then about 3.5 years ago, my digital marketing job wasn't going so well. I started really not liking it. And then I had to really sit myself down and like, okay, Vivian, what do you want to do in life? What do you want to do? And then I came across
the hardest conversation you'll ever have, right? With yourself.
So hard. You're right. It's so hard because you feel so lost when you're asking yourself that question. And that was when
you mentioned also in your bio, I'm sorry to interrupt you, you talked about high achievers. And so you seem to me to be that high achiever. And for myself and the other high achievers that I know, when we're doing something and we think, okay, maybe this isn't right, I don't really like this, we think that we're a failure. We immediately think that we've failed. And it's actually the universe telling us, or inner self telling us that you're not where you belong. But we don't realize that until after it happens. And then you have to have some kind of faith or something. And it's just hard. It's hard.
Yes.
So you did it anyway. Tell me more.
I did it anyway. But I came across Marissa Peer's, her viral video about feeling enough. She keeps repeating, I am enough, I am enough. And she talks about how all the clients, and she works with celebrities and like wealthy people. And the root cause of, she says that for the root cause of all the emotional issues that we experience in life is not feeling good enough or not feeling enough. Right. And I really resonated with that message. So I looked into her and I found out that she's actually offering a program called Rapid Transformational Therapy. So to train people to become a rapid transformational therapist. And it's a form, it's hypnotherapy, but it's like her protocol, like she came up with her way of guiding people through different issues in life. And I signed up for the course. It was a huge investment for me. Oh my gosh. It was a huge investment for me during that time. But I really sat with myself. I'm like, Vivian, if you don't do this, do you want to be doing this, what you're doing right now, which was digital marketing, working for corporations or startups that you might not really resonate with for the rest of your life? And I think,
feel it.
Yeah, I just, no. And I think I hit rock bottom in a way that is very empowering because I'm like, no, I want to do something different. And one of the promises I make to myself is that when I am complaining about something, whether it's to friends or to myself about something over and over again for an extended period of time, I have to make a change. And I think I just hit that point.
Yeah.
And so I booked it. And literally 2 weeks before my training, I was told, I'm getting goosebumps now, I was told that the company, basically my manager back then, said they no longer needed my services. And they gave me they were really generous. They gave me 3 months to decide, not decide, but give me either to find something. And I was like, wow, like the universe could not have sent me a clearer message than that.
Yeah. They say, they say that you get pushed as hard as you can because you have to make the change. And when it's time, it's time.
Yes.
That's amazing. So did you know immediately that it was the sign, or were you scared to death? But like, what did you feel at the time when that happened? Were you shocked?
Actually, that's a really good question. And I think this speaks to the power of healing. Like I create a lot of content around healings on social media. And I don't always get the comments like this, but I remember one time I got a comment saying, why do I have to heal? And I'm like, yeah, why do you have to heal? You don't have to. In my head, I'm like, yeah, why? But here's the thing. Because I had done so much healing up to that point, when they told me the news, yes, of course, I'm human. So I was frustrated. I was even angry at my manager. I was very defensive inside. But then I always talk about zooming out when we are in the midst of really difficult, challenging emotions and we get really stuck in certain beliefs. I zoomed out and I was like, you know what, Vivian, you're actually worthy as you are. Like, you don't need this, like this job doesn't define you. Like, even if they're not happy with your performance or whatever, even though they said it's not I don't think it was performance-based. I think it's something else, but whatever it was, it doesn't matter. Like, it actually doesn't matter. So I actually went into and even like, it's such perfect timing because being in the rapid transformational therapy training was such a huge life-changing experience for me as well. So it's just like one shift after another. And then here I am. I've been doing this for
Did you find that when you did the training, just out of curiosity, because I'm somebody that when it catches me, I'm going to learn about it, right? So for those of us that are trainers or coaches or teachers, we have that stuff inside of us. We also are starving, hungry students. So when I find something that I latch onto, I have to see it all the way through. I need those answers. Like, you can't dangle some really cool thing in front of me as a question and say, okay, well, you're done with that. So did you find that when you started to delve into that what did it do first? Did it open your mind? Did it like empower you to let things go? What's the big picture of that really started that for you?
Oh my gosh. Like, rapid transformational therapy is a really powerful protocol. I've done like 2 to 3 other trainings since, but what it does, what happened in the training, and mind you, we're all just learning the protocol, this method, right? So most of us are like really new to hypnotherapy, but even when I was guided by other students, I live in Vancouver. I actually flew to LA for the training. And I'm sharing because it was a huge investment for me and it was so worth it. I realized that a lot of the things that happened in childhood, that when we look at these events with our adult eyes, they're so small. Like, they're so small. Like, it's like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, one of the things that came up for me I had a session on self-doubt, is me just wearing a beautiful white dress, and I have ice cream in my hands, and I had ice cream. When I looked down, I had ice cream all over my white dress. And standing beside me was my mom, who's very, very frustrated. I could feel her anger. And in that moment, I was probably 5 years old, or like even younger. And in that moment, I learned that I can never trust myself. If I can't eat ice cream right, there's no way I can trust myself. And I carried that belief with me for so long.
Did you remember that all along, or was it something that you uncovered when you started this? You remember that?
So I remember the event, but actually I didn't consciously remember the event, but in the hypnosis session, this event came up for me.
And then it shook your memory.
It shook my memory and it helped me unlearn it's like shadow work. You go in the subconscious, you go into the unconscious, right. And it's kind of like you're rewiring all these beliefs. Like, it's like you actually believe that, okay, it's actually so silly to completely stop believing in yourself or continue to doubt yourself because of this one incident. And we can do it with our conscious mind too, but there's just something about diving deeper into your
Yeah.
mind, to your consciousness, to explore these things. And that was probably one of the biggest lessons I learned from the training. It's like something small and trivial, quote unquote, isn't always that trivial.
It's so amazing because there are things that we carry with us. So when I did the shadow work, I had already been through a bunch of stuff, right? You live 50 years, you go through a whole lot of things. And I didn't realize how much was locked up in there. But I also, I interviewed someone else on the previous podcast, and we talked about it. And I said, being in that group, at first, when I started to do the guided meditations, I thought to myself, I must be losing my marbles, because like, how am I up in the stratosphere, right? How has this happened? How is this just fine that my mind does this? And then I realized that it was so powerful, but it validated me because the other people in the group experienced something similar. So I was like, okay, I haven't lost it, and that's okay. But for me, I think the biggest first step was just letting go of those beliefs that this couldn't happen or this wasn't normal, and just going with it.
Yeah.
And so did you find that was a big thing for you too when you first started to delve into this?
Into shadow work?
No, into the rapid transformational therapy.
Yeah, I think it's so when you're guided to that state, in that state of relaxation, hypnosis state, in a trance, if you will, whatever comes up first, because our conscious mind, the analytical part of us, likes to analyze everything or like question everything. But when you're diving into that state, that hypnosis state, that part takes the back seat. And that's where your subconscious mind comes out. So whatever scenes that come up, yes, at first I'm like, wait, is this like really this even? Like something so small, like I'll question it. But as I've done so many hypnosis sessions for, like, I still book hypnosis sessions for myself to this day. I've done so many sessions that whatever comes up, I'm like, interesting. There's a reason why it came up. Let's work through it.
That's so, so cool and so powerful. So other than helping other people, and I want to get into that, but how has this helped you transform your life?
Oh my goodness. That is such a good question, because I was literally thinking about this yesterday. Sometimes, at least I do, I think a lot of us do, we forget when we're in a new state now, we start creating new things and wonderful things in life. We forget how far we've come. Like sometimes I forget
say that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, you're here now. Don't forget that you've come this far. So keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, I love that. You want to, yeah, I agree with that 100%. I can't even remember what it feels like to be where I was. I was depressed. I had suicidal ideation. I've had family members that took their own lives. So to me, like healing to that grief and being like the generational cycle breaker, is so empowering. And being able to even talk about it without like crying and breaking down, it's like a huge growth for me. It's like a huge growth piece for me. And I actually, because I did shadow work and I did with Danielle like last December, I actually became more and more connected with my ancestors. So I've actually had really deep conversations with my aunt who passed away 6-7 years ago. And then I was like, like, I won't share any of your stories if you're not okay with it. And she's like, no, please share. Like, I'm so okay with you sharing like your experience with grief, having someone took their own life that you had really, really deep relationship with, and who she was my cheerleader, she was always there for me. And then whenever I think about that, I'm like, wow, you've come a long way. Like And I think even like the clients that I work with, I have to remind them too, whenever they come to me and they share what they're currently going through. And I'll always be like listening, and I'm like, wow, do you realize how much work you've done to even be here and to be open to receive support? And yeah, it's changed everything. Like it changed not just like my life, but my internal state. And I don't know if you've heard of the book 10% Happier. It's by Dan Harris. He used to be an anchor at Good Morning America. And he named the book 10% Happier because when he talked about meditation and he was telling people how meditation made him 10% happier, people are more intrigued than when he's just describing to people what meditation is. Right. And me, I'm just like, I'm actually not 10% happier. I am probably 90% happier from doing all of that work.
And you just had to be brave enough to give it a shot.
Yes.
You know, I think that that's one of the things that I've learned. One of the reasons that I do this podcast and interview really cool, amazing people is because I know for myself, for the majority of my life, I spent the majority of my life and most of my time shoving the square peg into the round hole to prove that I could do it. Mm-hmm. And rather, when you accept help and when you raise your hand and say, gee, I could use some help, and you allow that, beautiful things happen. So we don't have to do things the hard way. We can do things the smart way, the easy way. You know, we don't have to prove all of this. So I think that the work that you did is so important. So you do this, you find it transforms you, and you decide you're going to help other people. Mm-hmm. How does that work for you? Do you get so much joy out of it? Like, how does the whole thing work?
It's the most fulfilling thing. It's so fulfilling in a way that I could never imagine. Does that make sense? Did that even make sense? So basically what you're giving your clients is almost more powerful to you than it is to them. The fact that you could do this. My clients inspire me every day. Yeah, you're 100% correct. Wow. And I also believe in, we have to do the work before we actually start becoming a healer or becoming a therapist even, or a hypnotherapist, all these healer or counselor, because at the end of the day, what I truly believe is not that I help them through something. I don't know the word, like, you know how when you start a business, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but you're always taught to come up with an I help statement. So I help you do this, I help you do that. That just never resonated with me, because I truly believe that the power is in my clients' hands. They decided to do this work, knowing that sometimes it gets tough to move through difficult emotions. Sometimes emotions come up in sessions, and they hold the power to work through those emotions, because some people may not be willing to. And all I do, and I'm not discounting my work in any way, but this is what I believe. Like, what I do is I guide them to the doors of their healing, but they have the key. They have to open the door. I'm just guiding them. Hey, this is where you go. And it's like hypnosis session.
You're showing them the path.
I'm showing them the path, but the path is also in their mind. Like, I'm just walking alongside them. But it's so rewarding. Like, I've had clients, I had a client yesterday that said, hey, I used to take 3 pills a day. It's like antidepressant. I don't really know what she actually takes. But I used to take 3 and now I only take half, because she's worked through anxiety. She's worked through that fear. So her body isn't as reactive to external events anymore. And she was thanking me, and she was, and I also take a lot of notes during sessions, whatever wisdom they came up with, I'm taking notes. And she was like, thank you so much for those notes. And I was like, you're welcome, but
they're yours.
They're yours. Yeah. Christina, they're yours. Like, I'm just asking you questions and leading you to tap into your inner reservoir of power. And it's already there. It's really already there.
I love what you do, and I love that you're so humble about it. One of the things that I keep thinking is that when I first learned to coach other people, the first thing that you learn is that nothing is really coming from you. You're pulling everything out of the person that you're coaching. So they're telling you exactly what they need. They know what the problem is. You're just kind of sorting their stuff out and saying, okay, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. And it's just because we have that objectivity. You have this beautiful, high level training where this is what you can do. There are people that go through their whole life and they don't even think it's possible to achieve any of their, remote dreams. And here you are helping them find the key to the door that unlocks that. How cool is that? So did you ever think, so go back to, a little bit older than the little girl in the white dress with the ice cream on it. Did you ever think you'd be doing something like this? Like, what did you think you'd do in your life?
I always say, I've shared this before on social media, because when I think about it, it seems so distant from me. It's like not even in my awareness anymore, if that makes sense. But I used to have zero self-worth. Like, I literally thought everyone was better than me, like every single person around me. And I remember when I was in university, I look up to people who started like their side business. And I would always look up to people, but I never realized that, what Rumi's, I don't know if I can quote it like 100%, but Rumi says that the beauty you see in me is the beauty you also have within you. I may bring it, but
I've read that and I know what you mean.
Thank you. I love it.
So it's another way of saying beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? If you can see beauty, then you can see beauty.
Yes.
If you have the ability to see that. So yes, that's absolutely true. And it's so nice when someone can learn it before they're 30 years old, before they're 40 years old. Like, so many times, if you ever see, regrets of the dying, you read that and like, some people go through their whole life and in the end, they regret they didn't spend time with their family. They regret that they spent so much time on their job. They regret that they listened to the people around them instead of going after what their dreams were. Mm-hmm. And that's, Les Brown is famous for telling a story about how we all have these gifts and these arts and these songs in our heart. And when our life is through and we go to wherever it is that we go, we can't take those songs with us. We have to sing them while we're here. So it's nicer when you can learn it earlier, but I don't know if we're ready to learn it earlier. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't, maybe I was. I always look back and think, wow, I should have taken the easier road. But in a lot of ways, I feel that I have learned so many lessons that makes me more empathetic of other people when they're going through those things. And that helps me in my work. So we all get the life that we're supposed to have. But then when we decide we're going to up our game, that's our right too.
Yes.
And we have that power.
Yes.
So just amazing. We're going to share your contact information, but tell me, don't you have something really cool coming out? Something cool that you're working on?
Yes, actually several things.
Tell me all about it.
I have an ebook coming up. Look at my clipboard is also excited for me. I'm currently wrapping up an ebook. It's about the softer side of success, because I used to be a high achiever to a fault and also a perfectionist. So there are so many things I had to unlearn in order for me to even do this podcast, because if you're a perfectionist, you'll be ruminating the things that the things that could go wrong in the podcast episode.
Right.
So I'll be sharing like learning more about your subconscious mind and attachment style, because understanding that can be so profound and can be tremendously helpful to many. And human design. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of human design in there. And I'm also launching a bi-weekly group hypnosis, and it's called Hypnosis. Wait, what did I call it? I came out with the name literally yesterday. Hypnosis Oasis.
Ooh.
I love it. It's like
I love it.
Relaxation bi-weekly, and it's really to help you shift internally. And I love, actually, Christina, I love what you said about the shadow work program, where you are in a group with a group of people. You feel so validated when they share similar experiences. And this is why I am creating, I kept feeling the nudge and the pull to create a group hypnosis program.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually in a group hypnosis program myself, since I've been in it for more than like almost a year, maybe. Yeah. And I just feel the shift every week, because we need that boost you get that boost.
We do need that. And it's very simple. Like when you look at an athlete, I am a huge baseball fan. I love the New York Mets. They have to practice. A musician has to practice.
Mm-hmm.
We're just humans trying to get through the day. And if we don't practice every day on just staying calm, finding our peace, knowing our worth, just starting every day with intention, we have to practice that. It doesn't just happen to us, because all of these things in life kind of come flying at us, right? So we need to come from a place of calm and a place of peace, and practicing that. That's why it's almost like plugging in. Right?
Yes.
You plug it in, you get the energy back, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. So you're going to be offering this coming down the road. It has been such a pleasure. Did I miss anything? Because you're really doing it, girl. You really have a lot going on.
No, this is all I have right now. I am very mindful of my energy. That's why my group hypnosis sessions are bi-weekly as opposed to weekly. It's so important to do an energy audit when you are, running your own business. It's like, oh, do I have the capacity to do it weekly? I'm like, no. So bi-weekly it is. So
I think that you're being, much more mindful of the people that you're going to be working with, because if you can't give it everything you've got, if it's the end of the day, or you've been, that you're just so tired from doing all of the things you're doing, you want to really be able to give them everything you've got. So being able to do it every other week instead of every week is a smart and generous thing to do.
Yeah.
So I applaud you. I think that you are wonderful and insightful. And I always love to see people, especially young female entrepreneurs. I love to see women that are just like, no, this doesn't work. I'm going to try this. If that doesn't work, I'm going to try that, but I'm not going to quit, and I'm going to keep going and going and going. So I applaud you. I think that you will be an amazing mentor as you go through life, because you have that fire in your belly, as they say. And I think that our listeners will be absolutely inspired by you. So
thank you so much, Christina.
How do people find you? So if they're driving and they're listening, is it soulvitaminshypnotherapy.com, or is there another landing page or website that you want to guide them to?
Yeah, so my website is soulvitaminshypnotherapy.com, and I am active on Instagram. So that's at soulvitamins.co, and on TikTok, also at soulvitamins.co.
Soul, SOUL vitamins.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we are going to connect. So, much further down the road, I'm going to call you for hypnosis for myself, because I can't wait to see what you can do. So, Vivian, it has been a pleasure. I want to thank you for spending some time with us on the power of connection. And it just goes to show I would never have met you if I was not connected to someone who was connected to you. It's so powerful.
Thank you so much for doing this. I had such a good time.
I'm so glad. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.